Shakespeare remains arguably the most influential writer in the English language, and his works continue to be studied and reinterpreted even now. Love is not love which alters when it finds alteration, or bends, that means when it bends with the convenience, when there is a remover to remove that love. When our age is destroyed by time, love does not change. That is the meaning what he says here. Hello students, I am Anil, Assistant Professor of English, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. In this session, let us start with the sonnets that has been prescribed for the students of BCA first semester. For this semester, you have two sonnets. First one, a sonnet by William Shakespeare. Second one, a sonnet by John Milton. So in this session, we are going to look at the sonnets first. What are sonnets and its types? So let us know about the sonnets, their type, and a sonnet by William Shakespeare and another sonnet by John Milton. This video will consist of two sonnets, two poems prescribed for you for this semester. So what are sonnets? How do you understand what a sonnet is? A sonnet is a 14-lined poem. So sonnets are 14-lined poems. So types of sonnets. Sonnets can be broadly classified into two major types. So they are Shakespearean and Petrarchan. So Shakespearean sonnets are also called as English sonnets. And Petrarchan sonnets, they are called Italian sonnets. So these are the major classification in sonnets. What are sonnets? 14-lined poems. And types of sonnets, Shakespearean and Petrarchan. Shakespearean sonnets are otherwise called English sonnets. Petrarchan sonnets are otherwise called Italian sonnets. So how do you differentiate? How do you compare these two sonnets? So how do you differentiate whether a given sonnet belongs to Shakespearean category or Petrarchan category? So comparison, both the sonnets will have 14 lines, but you have to remember, first thing, there is difference in the arrangement of lines. The second major point is the rhyming scheme. So if you consider two sonnets, Shakespearean and Petrarchan. So how are lines arranged in Shakespearean type of sonnets? In Shakespeare sonnets, you have quatrains, Quatrains. What are these quatrains? So you have 4 lines grouped into quatrain 1, other 4 lines quatrain 2, other 4 lines quatrain 3. And you have a couplet. That means 2 lines grouped. 4 3 is 12 plus 2 14. When you come to Petrarchan type of sonnet, you have an octave. Octa 8. So you have 8 lines. Then sestet. That is 6 lines grouped into 2 stanzas. So this is the major arrangement in both the sonnets, Shakespearean type of sonnet and Petrarchan type of sonnets. Then coming to the other part, rhyming scheme. So here the rhyming scheme is like this. The first quatrain, 4 lines, I'll represent like this: AB, AB. Line 1 and 3, they rhyme with each other. Line 2 and 4, they rhyme with each other. This is about the first quatrain. Second quatrain, CD, CD, again 1 3, 2 4. Next quatrain, EF, EF, 1 3, 2 4. And the couplet, they rhyme with each other, G and G. So this is the rhyming scheme. If you are asked to represent the rhyming scheme of Shakespearean sonnet, you should be representing like this. Then, coming to the Petrarchan type of sonnet, you have 8 lines in the first stanza and 6 lines in the second stanza, that is octave and sestet. So what is the rhyme scheme of Petrarchan type of sonnet? It would be represented like this: A, B, B, A, A, B, B, A, B, B, A. That means line 1, 4, 5 and 8. They rhyme with each other. Lines 2, 3, 6 and 7, they rhyme with each other. What about the sestet? The sestet, it is like this: C, D, E, C, D, E. So, first line, fourth line, second, fifth line, then sixth, third and sixth, they rhyme with each other. So, when you look at a sonnet, first you should notice this, the rhyming scheme. Then you will immediately get to know to which category that given sonnet belongs to. Then you should understand this quatrain and sestet, octave and quatrain and couplet, octave and sestet arrangement. Then you can easily classify the given sonnet. The comparison here is the sonnet has 14 lines, but these are the criteria which you require to classify any given sonnet into these 2 broad groups. I hope you understood. Now let us start with the first sonnet, which is prescribed for you. The sonnets, Shakespeare has written around 154 sonnets, and out of those sonnets, you have a sonnet which is numbered 116th. Now let us know something about William Shakespeare. I hope you have read about William Shakespeare, you have heard about William Shakespeare. So William Shakespeare was born on 23rd April 1564 and died on the same day, 1616. He was an English playwright, poet and an actor. He is widely regarded as the greatest writer in the English language and the world's preeminent dramatist. He is often called England's national poet and the Bard of Avon, or simply the Bard. His extant works, including collaborations, consist of some 39 plays. There were 37 plays, and recently 2 more plays have been added to his credit, and 154 sonnets, as I said, and 3 long narrative poems, and a few other verses. Some of uncertain authorship. We still do not know whether they are written really by William Shakespeare. So his plays have been translated into every major living language and are performed more often than those of any other playwright. Shakespeare remains arguably the most influential writer in the English language, and his works continue to be studied and reinterpreted even now. So this is a brief introduction about William Shakespeare. So out of 154, you have been given 1 to study. So let us look at that sonnet and try to understand what is there in that sonnet. The first line of any sonnet becomes the title of the sonnet because he did not give any heading. He simply numbered the sonnets. Therefore, sonnet number 116. Out of 154 sonnets, William Shakespeare has written these sonnets broadly for 2 people in his life. One was his friend and his patron, and the other was the dark lady. We do not know who was that lady. And most of his sonnets try to make his friend immortal through his sonnets. So what does this sonnet talk about? Let us see. Let me not to the marriage of true minds. The first line is the heading of the sonnet. Let me read it. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love, which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. Observe the first 4 lines, that is quatrain 1. Let me not admit impediments to the marriage of true minds. So he says, let me not raise any opposition to the marriage of true minds. What is the meaning of marriage of true minds? Coming together of 2 people who are in love with each other. So I don't have anything to say. This is what William Shakespeare says. Love is not love, which alters when it finds alteration. Any love which alters with time or when it changes with the remover to remove, that is not true love. That is what he says. Love is not love which alters when it finds alteration or bends. That means when it bends with the convenience, when there is a remover to remove that love. So he is talking about love. In the first quatrain, we try to get the idea that the poet is talking about love. Now coming to the second quatrain, quatrain 2, next 4 lines. I hope you observed this: minds, finds, love, remove. So they are rhyming with each other, they are rhyming with each other. AB, AB. Coming to the second quatrain, he talks about no, oh no, it's an ever fixed mark. What is it? Now this it is love. So he's talking about love. Oh no, love is an ever fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. Now this poet is comparing true love to the pole star. I hope you have heard about the earth which is bent 23.5 degrees. And there was a star here before we found out, or before we invented the compass and the map of the world. That star guided those who were traveling on the ships, sailing ships. So he compares love to that star. It's an ever fixed mark. It has seen tempests and is never shaken. That means that love is not changed whatsoever happened in anybody's life. It is the star to every wandering bark. It is the star to every wandering bark. What is the bark? A bark is something, a ship. It is a star to every wandering bark, whose worth's unknown, although his height be taken. We cannot just tag a price to this love, but its height, the height of the love can be imagined. But you cannot say exactly the love is only this much. So therefore, in the second quatrain, he talks about love as an ever fixed mark, a pole star. Moving on to the next quatrain, that is quatrain 3. Next 4 lines. Quatrain 3. Love's not time's fool. Poet says, love is not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks, within his bending sickles, compass come. Who is this here? This is time. Love is not time's fool. Love does not listen to time. And though rosy lips and cheeks, what does this mean? It is our beauty. Beauty which is not permanent, our body and our physical beauty, that will fade away. Cheeks will fade away. Within his bending sickles, compass come. When our age is destroyed by time, love does not change. That is the meaning, what he says here. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks. Love does not alter. It remains constant, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. And love will live even to the edge of doom. Even the world gets completely destroyed, love remains. Therefore, the poet is trying to say that love will not fade away with time. So now you have to observe again the rhyming scheme. EF, EF. Finally, in the couplet, William Shakespeare gives his strongly believed idea. So what is it? The couplet, GG. He says, if this be error and upon me proved, if the points which I have discussed, if the points which I have said so far, if that is error, and if somebody proved me wrong, then he says, I never wrote such poem. You may disregard this poem. You can forget this poem. And also he says something very important. Nor no man ever loved. If all the things which I have said is proved wrong, that means till this day or till this date, no man or any human being has ever loved truly. So this is what William Shakespeare talks in his 116th poem. So when you summarize entire thing, what is the theme of the sonnet? The theme of the sonnet is true love. True love that does not change with time, that does not alter when there is alteration, etc. And love is an ever fixed mark. It guides people, those who are wandering in the bark, etc. So finally, in his ultimate statement, that is the couplet. He says, if everything is wrong, if there is an error, if you proved me wrong, then that means no man has ever loved truly. So this is the summary of the first sonnet, which falls under Shakespearean type of sonnet. I hope you understood the mind of Shakespeare's intention. Now coming on to the second sonnet prescribed for your syllabus, a sonnet written by John Milton. This is not written by William Shakespeare, but it is a sonnet written by John Milton. Who is John Milton? John Milton was an English poet, polemicist, and civil servant. His epic poem, which was written in 1667, Paradise Lost, written in blank verse and including 12 books, was written in a time of immense religious flux and political upheaval. It addressed the fall of man, including the temptation of Adam and Eve by the fallen angel Satan and God's expulsion of them from the Garden of Eden. Paradise Lost elevated Milton's reputation as one of the history's greatest poets. He also served as a civil servant for the Commonwealth of England under its Council of States and later under Oliver Cromwell. So this is the brief introduction about John Milton, 1608 to 1674. So he also wrote some of the sonnets. Paradise Lost is one of his famous works. So Paradise Lost, that is when Adam and Eve, they fall to the trap of the Satan and those two people are abandoned from the Garden of Eden. So this is the summary of Paradise Lost. So let us see in his sonnet, what is he trying to say? His sonnet is titled On His Blindness. Whose blindness? Let us see. So here he starts like this. When I consider how my light is spent, ere half my days in this dark world and wide, and that one talent which is death to hide, lords with me useless, though my soul more bent to serve there with my Maker, and present my true account, lest he returning chide. Does God exact day labor, light denied? I fondly ask. So in the octave, the poet is talking about his own self. When John Milton started losing his eyesight after half of his life, during the end of his lifetime, he tries to write this. He is asking God what happened. So let us look at line by line. When I consider how my light is spent before half my days in this dark world and wide. So when I consider how my light is spent, this light is eyesight. How my knowledge, eyesight is spent before half my days, half of my lifetime in this dark world and wide. The world is full of darkness and it is too wide. And in this darkness, actually I am losing my eyesight. So this fellow is talking about his own blindness that he was experiencing then. And that one talent, what was that one talent? The poet's ability to write poems and prose praising God, or using that talent to talk about good things. And that one talent which is death to hide. Death to hide. That means he is talking about that talent. If you hid it inside you, then it is like death. You have a talent to sing, to dance, to draw, to speak, to debate, to compete, to run, to jump, to do good things. Having all these talents, if you did not show it to the people, if you did not display your talent, then your talent dies inside you. That is the meaning of talent is death to hide. He says, and that talent is lodged with me useless right now because the poet is losing his eyesight. He says, I have a talent and I don't want to hide it. If I hid it, then it is like death. But I don't want to do that. I want to use it. But now it has become useless because I'm losing my eyesight. Though my soul is more bent to serve there with my Maker, though I want to serve my Maker, that is God, and present my true account. I want to present my true account, my thoughts, my feelings to God. I want to use this talent, but it has become useless. Why? Because he was going blind. Lest he returning child. And still God wants to scold me, punish me. What does God want to do? And in this time, the poet has a question in his mind. Does God exact day labor, light denied? The poet says, does God want me to work hard, day labor, light denied? That means taking away my eyesight. Is God expecting me to work hard? And also he is denying light. I think he is willing that I should work double. Is this what he wants? He fondly asks. He does not want to fight with God. He is actually asking him a question very humbly. Therefore he says, I fondly ask. But the patience to prevent that murmur. Now, when he is asking God, why did you do this? Why are you doing this to me? When he asked this God very humbly, God did not answer his call. But a quality, a personality in all of us, that is patience, to answer that question, answer that murmur, soon replies. Now patience is personified. And that patience replies. It tells to the poet. The poet is actually thinking about God and he is worried about his blindness. And he asks God, what does God want? What is he expecting out of him? So in order to Answer that question which rose in the mind of poet. Patience replies to the poet. The patient says, God does not need either man's work or his own gifts. Man has gifts, and those gifts are given by the maker. So therefore, God does not expect anything out of man or his own gifts given to the man. Who best bear his mild yoke, they serve him best. So who understand this? That means God does not expect anything out of man and anything out of man's gifts which have been given by himself. So those who understand this, those who bear the mild yoke, they serve God best. Actually, they serve the God in the best way possible. His state is kingly. God's state is very kingly. God is the king. He does not need anything. 1,000 at his bidding speed and post over land and ocean without rest. So God has his own servants. His own servants, that is wind, air, fire, water, etc. Everything serve God. So they serve both on land and ocean. And those elements, they also serve human beings. That means they also serve. They means the servants of God, thousands at his bidding. They also serve man who only stand and wait. The stand and wait is very important. What is the stand and wait? Stand and wait is patience. So here he is talking about this patience. At this point of time, the poet was blind. He was really confused. He was really troubled. Therefore, he asked God. And to answer his doubts, patience replies to his questions. And finally he says, dear poet, you need not worry about anything. God does not need your hard work or your talents, which are his own gifts. But God has many servants. His state is kingly. Many thousands are serving at his bidding, and they will also do good to you if you have patience. That is the meaning of the sonnet. You have to understand this. If you are asked to summarize the entire poetry into one word, that one word would be patience. Patience. So now let us go back and see how this sonnet falls under the Petrarchan type of sonnet. So here, look, spent, bent. So A, B, A, B, A. So they are rhyming with each other and they are rhyming with each other. A, B, B, A, B, B, A. You can just simply remember above. So first thing you have to observe in any given sonnet is the rhyming scheme. Then in the sestet part, D, T, state, wait. So C, D, E and C, D, E. So this sonnet falls under Petrarchan type of sonnets. You have been given both the kinds of sonnets. So this is the summary of the two sonnets given to you to study. So now summarizing both the sonnets by William Shakespeare, the sonnet number 116 by William Shakespeare and sonnet number 19 by John Milton. So this is Shakespearean type of sonnet and this is Petrarchan. So what is the theme of Shakespearean type of sonnet? That is sonnet number 116, it is true love. And here it is about patience. And we have seen the line arrangements here and also the rhyming scheme, and similarly here line arrangements and rhyming scheme. This is the summary of the sonnets 116, Let Me Not to the Marriage of True Minds by William Shakespeare, and the 19th sonnet on his blindness where Milton talks about his own blindness. And finally, he highlights the importance of patience. William Shakespeare in his 116th sonnet, he talks about true love and he challenges the readers, if you proved me wrong, then I stopped writing, and also that means no man has ever loved truly. So true love and patience. These are the qualities one would expect out of any good human being. Love and respect and also patience for your hard work. With this, we have covered two poetry prescribed for your syllabus. Please do remember, read the original poetry once again. Let us meet in the next class with the other poems. Thank you.